Wizards Postgame Live.
We had ourselves a ball game tonight, Wednesday night, after the Wizards got off to a hot start, including being up 13 at the half. It was SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with the game on the line with a clutch step-back three to give the Thunder the 1-point lead. With 1.1 seconds left on the clock, Wizards unable to get the inbounds, thus snapping the four-game winning streak that the Wizards had coming into this game. Oklahoma City walks away with the 1-point victory. Wes Hall here with Glenn Consor. Glenn, a lot to cover. There's some statistical anomalies that happened during this game, but I want to get the biggest thing that stood out to you in this game.
Well, I think that the Wizards kind of fell into the style of play that OKC wants to play, which is up and down. And they want to create turnovers, and they want to score off those turnovers. There was a 26-12 advantage in points off turnovers. At the end of the day, both teams shot over 50%. That, to me, was the difference, Wes. And you got to make sure that you dictate the pace that you want to play. Wizards did that in the first half. Really was a tale of two halves.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. The 14 threes that they made in the first half, finishing up with 17 that I mathematically told you those three that they had. But then I'm looking at this scoring by quarter. Normally, if you win each quarter, if you win 3 quarters by scoring 30 points, you get it.
Right.
That third quarter, 20 points only being scored by the Wizards. But to your point, though, earlier, the numbers of 14 threes in one half, that's a record. And you go, they should pretty much walk away with this one, Glenn. The ball was falling. Everybody was getting involved. We had multiple starters with 2 or more threes, but couldn't figure a way to keep that going in the third half.
Yeah, they really, give OKC credit, first of all, where credit is due. Wizards got hot. They were making threes. They were pushing the pace. Control. That bucket by Brad was beautiful off of a secondary break. Everybody was making threes. Denny, Monte, Brad, KP. And then all of a sudden, the turnovers kicked in. And that's when OKC really came back into this game. And let's face it, man, what we just saw with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was, an all-NBA. Forget about all-star. He's an all-NBA player.
He's special.
Okay? He is special. He's a young DeMar DeRozan mixed in with a little bit of James Harden.
Yeah.
Because he gets to the free throw line. He is special. DeRozan is also 6'6".
Yeah.
Like Shai gets into the paint wherever he wants to go, has a host of Antoine Jameson type moves once he gets in there, around the head. It doesn't matter.
He's
but
great.
He is very unique. He's tough to defend. And the only thing you can do with him is to close out early, to make him an early passer. But you got to do it early because he takes 1 or 2 dribbles.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
And the thing that I like about his game, he doesn't dribble the juice out of the orange.
No.
It's boom, 1, 2,
intentional,
and then he goes in. So that's why he's so difficult to guard. That's why that help defense had to have been there earlier. But give OKC credit. They fought back, they played their style, and they stole it.
Yeah, indeed. I want to bring in Drew Gooden, who's on the call for us tonight. Drew, first of all, good call tonight, and I'm just going to get straight to it. That third quarter, normally on a night like tonight, when the Wizards score 30 in 3 or more quarters, you can assume it's a dub. And we knew that OKC was a team that liked to run fast. The Wizards kept the pace, and they were stayed ahead. But that third quarter, only scoring 20 points, had to be the difference maker, in my opinion.
Yeah, 35 points allowed for OKC. Wizards gave up in that third quarter. And that was a moment in a window of time where you could really have went for the juggler and put them away. But what did that young team do? They kept fighting all the way up into the fourth quarter, which led ultimately to that SGA back-breaking 3 towards the end.
You know something, Drew? As much as we want to lament this loss, and we should do so appropriately, I want to give Bradley Beal some flowers because he came out tonight, he had the first bucket, then turns around and knocks down the first 3. And some would say he went kind of quiet through the second and third quarter, but then he came through in the fourth quarter as the face of a franchise should and put the team on his back. It was just a great shot by SGA. But talk to me a bit briefly about Bradley Beal's performance his first night back.
He looked good. He looked like he was able to come and mix in with the flow and the positivity that we've seen the group had during his time out. And he, like I said, he hit big-time shots down the stretch. He did everything in his power as a franchise leader to do, and was just that. 2 big buckets down that stretch. It was the mid-range jump shot. He got some space on Lou Dort, was able to knock down a shot to give his team a 2-point lead. But like you said, it came down to that SGA 3, which put them up 1, ultimately winning the game.
Hey, Drew, I got to get your thoughts on this because, You know, you think about the ebb and flow of this game, which really changed in the second half. Could the Wizards have gone more to KP as that unique player with a size advantage, not just from three, because look, the three ball was working in the first half, but I'm talking about putting them in that mid-range spot to shoot over people.
I think the success the Wizards had in that 4-game win streak, it was nothing that was, I would say, initiated through finding just one person or needing one person to do something. It was a collective effort. Guys are moving the ball, passing the ball. Organically, if the ball found you and you're wide open, you shot the ball. I just think the Wizards got away from that in that fourth quarter, looked more into isolation plays, which they had some success with Bradley Beal isolating a couple times, but it was not the same ball movement which we saw in the first 4 games or the four wins in a row. And last but not least, in that first half, where they did a beautiful job sharing the ball with 25 made field goals on 22 assists.
Indeed. I want to bring in Megan McPeak on this conversation, too. Megan, we're talking about Porzingis as well. Over the last 3 games, averaging 28 points, 8 boards. He's been Mr. Consistent. I'm just thinking about that latter part of the game when you want to see that 7'3" frame be able to take advantage of mismatches that we were seeing tonight. Can you just briefly explain to people what you were seeing from your perspective in the arena tonight?
I think what we just heard from Drew is spot on. The limited assists that we saw in the second half, I think, is a huge thing. We saw them, as Drew mentioned, multiple assists. They had 25 made field goals, 23 assists in that first half. And I asked Coach Posey about that, and he said sharing is caring, quite simply, at halftime. So the fact that that kind of went away in the second half, I think that played a huge part in the limited success that we saw in the second half for the Wizards. When that ball is moving, and we've seen it in this entire win streak up until tonight, when they move the ball and they have off-ball movement as well, too, you see a lot of guys getting open looks, getting really good open looks, a lot less contested jumpers, a lot less contested three-point opportunities. And that kind of went away in the second half. They were taking shots that were good shots, but they were also contested. The defense was there. The defense wasn't caught on their heels. So I think that also played a role. There was a limited amount of ball movement as well, too, in the second half.
That's something that I think we all witnessed, and I appreciate that, Megan, too. Speaking of ball movement, you see a guy like Kyle Kuzma tonight as well. Gives you 18 points, 10 boards. Kyle, with the 9 assists, though, I think that's one of the things that we saw happening earlier, Drew. You saw the fluidity of the ball movement. That's something that I think the team needs to lean into a little bit more, do you think?
I mean, listen, you still had 32 assists on 44 made field goals a night. OKC made adjustment. Tip your hat when you talk about not starting Giddey in that third quarter, not starting Pokashevsky in that third quarter, and they responded. OKC got back in the ball game, took a 2-point lead, and then they came in the fourth quarter, closed it out. It came all the way down to that fourth quarter, I would say, and that last play defensively, if you saw, if we could even get to that play, the OKC did a hell of a job switching and blowing up that last ATO by Wes Unseld to ultimately get the ball in Bradley Beal's hands to shoot with 1.1 seconds left. So tip your hat up to OKC. SGA hit a hell of a shot towards the end of the game. Great defensive effort towards the end on that last possession. Sometimes you're going to have nights like this.
Hey, Drew, you said tip your hat. Sometimes you got to pop your turtleneck to him, you know.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's how we
Cali
pay respect. You know what I mean? Let them know, baby. What side till we go? But anyway, great call tonight, brother. I'll see you on Friday down at the arena for the Big 3 reunion. Wizards fans, let's go to the post-game podium right now with head coach Wes Unseld Jr. Get his thoughts on tonight's loss.
After such a strong offensive first half, what did you see offensively in the third quarter from your team?
Part of it was they adjusted to switching, and I think that kind of slowed us a bit. Obviously, the ball was moving, you know, at a rapid rate in that first half. I think we had 24 assists in that first half, so a terrific job there. We struggled to make some shots late, but I think the switching bogged us down a bit.
You guys had, I believe, a 17-point lead go away and then a 16-point lead go away. How did those ebbs and flows take place?
The end of the first, you know, they were able to climb back in, and then I think the beginning of that third quarter was probably the biggest run. They wound up with a 35-point quarter in that stretch. So just trying to find ways to manage, you know, those runs. Late in the game, getting to the line, you know, that obviously helps for 2 reasons. Stops the clock. They got to the line quite a bit, and allows them to set their defense.
I know we talked a lot about Gilgeous-Alexander coming in, but why was he so successful tonight?
We struggle to guard one-on-one. Obviously, trying to do that without fouling is easier said than done. At times we tried to get the ball to his hands, and we weren't in sync, which led to some open looks. So it's a tall task because he's going to put a lot of pressure on you. But his ability to draw fouls, which we knew going in he was going to try and do, I think that really helped him.
Wes, what did you see during that 5-minute stretch bridging the first and second quarters where your second unit didn't score?
Yeah, it was a struggle. They struggled offensively. I think it really gave the Thunder life. Just trying to find that balance of bleeding those units together to try to minimize some of those stretches. But we've seen that second unit play exceptionally well, and they just didn't have it tonight.
Do you have any preliminary word on how Jordan Goodwin is after he went to the locker room in the fourth?
No, not yet.
You had Brad on Shy to start the out-of-bounds possession and then had the switch with Montegas. Is that the right call? Do you expect Brad to maybe try and fight over it, or?
Yeah, we said switch before. We weren't matched correctly, but that's no one's fault but ours, but mine.
What do you mean by not matched correctly before the?
Putting more size on the two guys and put a small on the ball.
Wes, you talked about how pleased you were with the one-on-one defense through that stretch where you faced obviously a lot of tough guys. Was it something that Shea was doing that was throwing you guys off, or you guys just didn't have the energy there for the one-on-one?
He's really good, obviously. But I think being able to guard him without fouling was the biggest key. And I think once he saw the ball go in, he just got more energized. Obviously huge second half. First half we did a decent job on him, and he just kind of put them on his back and went. And his ability to play downhill, we really struggled to get our strengths, get to our spots, show them a wall, and keep them out of the paint.
When they're able to come back from, I think it was the 17-point lead early on, just in the mental game, is that letting them back in? Does that teach a team, okay, if you keep at it, maybe you can do this again? Or what's kind of the mental side of that for an opponent?
Well, yeah, from both teams. It's obviously deflating when you have a lead and you don't play well and allow a team to climb back in. That those ebbs and flows happen. Now, you want to try and minimize the duration of those flows. If it's a 8-0 run, a 6-0 run, but you can't have a double-digit deficit evaporate like it did. But you give a team life. Now they start to feed on themselves, and it kind of snowballs a bit. So they're going to pick up their defensive intensity. When they get going offensively, now they're shooting into a big bucket. So it's one of those things you try to minimize. Whether it's timeout, subs, whatever it is. But those type of momentum stretches we got to try to eliminate.
It's time for some coach speak. Breaking down what we heard from head coach Wes Unseld Jr. at the post-game podium. Megan, of all the things that he was mentioning there, was there anything in particular that stood out to you?
I think, when you look at the way that they defended Shea and Giddy, and that was something I asked him in the pregame, and it actually was a question regarding the way that OKC leads the league at points in the paint, and tonight is no different. They lead the league with nearly 57 points in the paint this season. Tonight, they allowed them to go for 50 points in the paint, and it actually wasn't just stopping guys on the perimeter or the bigs inside. It actually, according to Coach Unseld, starts in their transition offense. When they rebound, we saw tonight there was multiple times when on a make from us as in the Wizards, they were out in transition pushing the ball as quickly as possible, and that was a point of emphasis with regards to the points in the paint. So you have to stop them in transition. And then when you look at Shea, I told you guys in the pregame, under 5 feet and under 9 feet. He is 67 and 42% from the floor. He is one of the best in the league when it comes to getting 10 toes down in the paint, and then he facilitates if he doesn't have the shot. So it was a lot of just transition defense that I think allowed the Thunder to really get out and move and get out in transition, especially in that third quarter.
Glenn, one of the things I'm concerned about is we know this is a game of runs, but how do you prevent from gap closing runs from occurring, especially against a team like this that we know that once they get a little bit of confidence, it explodes?
Yeah, it does explode, and I think the Wizards coming into this game knew how this team plays. Look, the reality is that the Wizards, didn't get to the free throw line as many times as they should.
Right.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander went 17 times. The Wizards as a team went 17 times, okay? But I thought that they did a great job, OKC, of making adjustments. To break down Wes's coach speak, when he said they made adjustments to switching, when teams make that adjustment not to stick with the same man, but to switch, the Wizards call it black,
right,
to switch, right? What happens is when you have the ball, you don't make the extra pass. Oh, I got a new guy on me, right? What are you going to do, Wes?
Hold it.
You're going to hold it, and you're going to take it. Whereas in the first half, what we saw was the Wizards making 2, 3, 4, 5 passes before it went up. Second half came, the passes shrunk because the defense changed. That's when you got to make adjustments.
What were we saying when we were watching it back there? What did I say? I said, if you move the ball,
right,
you watch it fall. That's really what it comes down to.
Right.
Ball moving in
and
the first
that rhymes.
half. I'm trying.
It's good. I know.
It's a
He's
thing.
good. He's really good.
Oh, wow. Look, I'm glad you put a smile on my face. And hopefully we're going to put one on yours in the other half of this show, because guess what? Coming back on the other side, the big three, Gil and Tom. And, of course, Quran Butler, my man. We're going to have a conversation with the big three on the other side. Do not move. Getting you ready for Friday here. Welcome back to Wizards post-game live after a loss to the visiting Oklahoma City Thunder. But Bradley Beal, first game back in action after missing some games due to health and safety protocol, put up 25 points, 6 boards, and 6 dimes, 2 threes from deep out of the 4 that he shot up tonight. Wish it would have been a winning game. However, we'll be back on the court on Friday, which leads us to another big thing happening on Friday, the Big Three reunion. We've been giving you parts of the great conversation of these guys once again united on camera. Well, here's part 4.
It's got to be exciting, though, to finally be recognized back here in the district where, this triple threat that we had, it has become somewhat iconic with this area.
This is beautiful, man. Full circle, like that's what it's all about, man. And I'm proud of all of them. You know what I mean? I watch you guys from afar.
I got a question from Chris Miller. Kind of evaluate, I know it's early, but the Wizards team this year. Antoine, we'll start with you because you got to know this team.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is the relationship that we can get out of KP and Brad. I think KP provides a skill set that we haven't had in a while. I think Brad needs that second guy that can take a little bit of the pressure off of him as well. I love what Monty Morris has done so far. He's been a solid point guard, a guy you can trust. Right now, this early in the season, but I like what I see out of our starters.
Everybody touching the ball offensively gets it going, like right there for Porzingis.
Nice play design, getting him free.
It's the spacing that I like, with the unicorn. I think that's going to open up the floor for a player like Brad. It just reminds me of with Antoine, right? Because he's a pick and pop guy. Those big sitting makes for the easy, throwback. If they want a hard show, I'm going to turn that corner because, most of the bigs are slow. So the fact that those two guys are on the same floor, I'll see, the real kick in. It's usually game 20 is when, everyone starts getting in their mojo. So, it's hard to really evaluate, anything now because everyone's still trying to feel what each other's doing, what everyone likes. No one wants to step on anybody's toes right now. So it's like, wait till game 20 where all the roles are actually being, stamped. So, you can ask me back in game 20.
All right. The East is crazy, man. This is gonna be it's gonna be an interesting year because I was sitting there naming, I think the Atlantic Division can have 4 teams that make the playoff this year. It's just unbelievable. But for us, I think it's gonna be defensively, can we play close to 48 minutes of consistent defense, make it difficult for our opponents night in and night out.
Again, I'm really excited about seeing the 3 there on November the 18th, and can't wait to see the 3 of you guys together. And contrary to any belief, you're going to get a great ovation, Gilbert. All 3 of you guys provided some exciting, great basketball, and now you guys are the legend.
Big Three back in D.C. on a Friday night. I cannot wait. This is going to be an excellent opportunity for anybody who hasn't seen these guys in a while to see them in person. And, oh, by the way, Get this hat that was designed by who? Antawn Jamison. Yeah. Hat designer. You can Google him. A-N-T-A-W-N. I love this thing. Matter of fact, you got the DC patch here on the side here. You got the current Wizards logo right here. And under the lapels, check this out. Can you see that? Signed by Antawn. Matter of fact, hold on, Glenn, you might not get this one. I might have to keep this one. Anyway, let me bring in Glenn and Megan again. Glenn, I'm going to defer to you first on this one because you've covered this team for so long. And that is a compliment, my brother, so I'm going to lean into your memory. How excited are you to see these three particular players back in Capital One Arena together?
I think it's phenomenal because what they brought was so much joy.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were really the big three when they played. And the team was great. I mean, they had some great players. Brendan Haywood was manning the middle. You know, they had some great teams. And you talk about unguardable. Like Gilbert Arenas, Antawn Jamison, and Karan, those three guys played different positions, yet they were unguardable. Twan in the post, you know, Karan pounding it inside and could do anything with the ball. Gilbert literally had no range.
No chill.
He had no range. He was no chill, but no range. And Antawn had more shots that you couldn't figure out than really anybody in the NBA. Karan was so tough, especially on the break. And Gilbert was Gilbert. I mean, Gilbert was an enigma, and I can't wait to see Gilbert. I mean, I see Twan because he's part of the organization. I see Caron Butler when he comes in with Miami, which is going to be great to see him. But to see those three guys together brings back so much joy and memories, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think the crowd is going to love seeing those guys.
Megan, kind of the same question to you, but more on the player side. I know that they are equally as much fans of those three as we are. Have the guys been giving any murmur about their excitement for Friday?
As of right now, no. I'm going to try and get some insight tomorrow at practice and see, you know, what these guys have to say. And also, too, a lot of them are so used to seeing a guy like Karan around, to Glenn's point, with him being an assistant with Miami. And then as well, too, he was before joining the Miami Heat staff, he was the in-game analyst for the Wizards. So he had done that for a year. So it's been kind of like interesting to see how that'll go. So I'm going to try and find out from the guys tomorrow at practice what their insight is. But you know, as Glenn said, Antoine's been around the organization, being part of the front office and whatnot. So he's kind of been normal around here, if you will. But I think most people are super excited to see Gil. I know I am.
It's just crazy when we think about 25 years of Wizards basketball. And so we're doing the throwback with the same jersey that you're seeing these guys in, Glenn. And now they're going to be in the building, but watching Bradley Beal and company in those old uniforms. Kind of a crazy little circle right there, yeah?
It really is. I mean, it's kind of like the circle of life, right? The circle of basketball.
I dare you sing it.
You know, it all comes around. The crazy thing is I'm still calling these games, which is
and we enjoy it, by the way.
And I love every second of it. But you know, I love seeing those guys play. And you know, there's going to be a time when Bradley comes back.
Yeah,
you know,
I thought about it.
And all the other great players that the Wizards have. I just think it's so wonderful that these guys will be back together. You know, and listen. The reality is they had something special when they were here.
Yeah.
The way that team played, how prolific of a scoring, they were exciting. They were, you know, Gilbert was unguardable, and you know, and as tough as he was, Caron Butler, tough juice, man. You know, he was able to lock down everybody. Antawn Jamison could do everything, shoot from the outside, score inside.
Yeah.
And they were a very unique and special team. And I can't wait to see those guys.
As I said, high IQ basketball is the reason that 2 out of 3 of them are doing exactly what they're doing. And, of course, Gil being Gil is just no chill Gil. But want to make sure that you know what to do. Matter of fact, pull your phone out right now. Hit that QR code on the screen so that way you can be a part in the building at Capital One Arena for the Big 3 reunion this Friday, 48 hours from now, against the visiting Miami Heat. And we're going to be there ready for it. Matter of fact, we've got something extra special for you in a little bit later on. I'm trying to, like, tuck it away, but I'm going to celebrate something else in our family, too. Yeah, see, we talk about the Wizards and the Go-Go.
Love this
franchise record, 145 points in a dominant victory over the Skyhawks. 401 Go-Go had 7 double-digit scores, including Devin Dotson, who registered the 3rd triple-double in team history. Woo!
And it's not the best part of his game. I love his defense.
What?
I love his defense. Tough as nails. Like those tough guys.
NBC Sports Washington, your home of the Wizards.
All right, welcome back to Wizards Post Game Live. It's time to take a look at our bold predictions brought to you by Greenberg and Betterman. Remember to go to dvlawyers.com and feel better. Glenn Consort's Jewish Heritage Night. You said that Denny Avdia was going to score 22 or more points tonight, and I love the ambition. You were just 10 points off. That's okay.
I was 10 points off, but it's Jewish Heritage Night. I wanted to give him, you know, some love.
Yes.
And respect.
And hey, I'm not mad at that. No. I love that you did.
And it was Wes's idea.
I don't mind taking the blame for that. But you know what else I don't mind doing? Taking some time out right now to celebrate a newest accomplishment in our monumental sports family. Not Wizards. I'm talking about Mystics. Eric Tebow, the new head coach of the Washington Mystics, sat down with Megan McPeak earlier. Here's a little snippet.
First off, congratulations on getting the head coaching job and being the successor to your father, who will still be your boss, but kind of in a different capacity without having the coaching. Just talk about the process of getting to this point. Obviously, you've been with the Mystics organization for a while now as an assistant and associate head coach, but talk about the process to how we got from the end of this season to now here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get going. We finished the season in a good but not great spot. We had a good season, and we were 22-14, but we lost in the playoffs to Seattle. And I'd known for a little while that it was probably going to be the end of my dad's coaching career. He was just ready to take a different role in the organization, and I was just hopeful I got a chance to get in front of ownership and make my case. I didn't take anything for granted, even though it had kind of been the plan here. So I prepped for it like I was going in for an interview, which I was, and just tried to lay out my vision for how I thought we would play and the steps I think we need to make to get back to being a championship team.
This was obviously not your first situation of interviewing for a head coaching position. You had interviewed prior with other organizations and obviously made the decision to stay with the Washington Mystics, which I know Mystics fans absolutely love. But talk about what you want to do now that you will take your tenure as head coach. And could we maybe see an adaptation of what we saw from Mike Tebow? Or is Eric Tebow going to be a completely different version of what the system will look like for the Mystics moving forward?
I don't think I'll be completely different. I think one of the best things Coach T has always done here is be collaborative. So everybody on staff has had a voice, players have had a voice. So for me to say it would be totally different would be to act like I haven't had anything to do with what's going on for the last 10 years. So we'll make some tweaks like we always do from year to year. I'll probably have a little bit different flow to how we do things day to day in practice, and we know we've got to get better on the offensive side of the ball, which is different from where we were a few years ago. But so I'll have hopefully some fresh ideas for that and ways we can improve.
I know it's your father, but is there any, coaching jitters that you might have as you prepare down the road for that night?
Oh, I'm sure I'll have some nerves before opening night. I don't think it's necessarily the shoes I'm filling, although obviously we know what that is, but I think it's more just the opportunity that sits in front of our team. We think if we make the right moves this offseason, if we prepare the right way, we got a chance to win a championship. So, I mean, if you don't have some nerves about that and some excitement about that, you're probably in the wrong business.
Great conversation with Eric, Megan. I've got a question for you because you are extremely familiar with this Mystics team. So what is going to be one of the biggest challenges that Eric's going to have to face now that he has the keys to the car, per se, for the Mystics?
I think the biggest thing is adapting to the fact that now the decisions fall on his shoulders, and that was something part of our conversation that he had mentioned as well too. When you're one seat, to the left of the head coach's chair, you can give your opinions, as he said. You can have some insight and give your thoughts, but at the end of the day, it falls to the head coach to make the final decision. Now he is the head coach to make that final decision. But I mean, he's been working as an assistant and associate head coach within the organization for the past decade, and this is nothing new. He stepped in for his father in different situations throughout the last couple of years with the Mystics as a head coach. Yes, it's been for a game here and a game there, but he's got some experience in that role and being the decision maker. Now he has to answer to Mike as the general manager when it comes to decision makings in games, but I think he'll be in a good position to do it. I mean, the family, when you look at the Tebows, basketball is the family and family is basketball.
Indeed it is. Right now, Megan, first of all, thank you. Speaking of our basketball family on the Wizards side, I want to go to Kyle Kuzma right now. He's in the post-game locker room.
I felt like we just didn't shoot them. They did a good job of just staying put and guarding guys, and their coach made a big-time adjustment starting the first quarter or the third quarter, subbing out Giddy and just playing five guys that could switch and guard and just play helter-skelter. And they made a great adjustment.
When a team is switching so effectively on defense as they did in the second half, how does an offense have to react to get back into its rhythm or to get the shots it wants?
Direction. You know, I think we just didn't really know what to kind of get to and continue to. You know, I feel like we got a little flat, and it affected us.
When you say direction, do you mean guidance or do you mean knowing what spots you're going to get to?
Knowing what spots and what actions to get into. You know, I think in the first half we didn't really play call. We kind of just played basketball, played within the flow, and then we didn't in the third and fourth quarters.
To us, it looked like the offense didn't miss a beat with Brad back in there. How did it feel like for you guys on the floor?
Felt great. Thought it was fine. Thought it was fine.
Was it your intention, first 5 minutes, you didn't take a shot? It seemed like you were trying to facilitate. Was that kind of your approach from the jump?
I'm just trying to make the right basketball play. And maybe some I could have shot, maybe. But guys are open. And I've always prided myself on trying to make the right play every time. So if somebody's open, yeah, I can shoot, but it's probably better to pass it if it's open.
How do you guys, what was the mood in here afterward, and how do you guys bounce back from a loss as painful as this one?
I mean, this loss was just a bunch of mental errors, you know, across the board, and can't do it. You know, when we're playing a team like that, you know, we let a guy come in here just score at will and didn't really do anything to affect him. The loss is on us. We lost the game. The Wizards lost, so.
Very candid Kyle Kuzma in the post-game locker room. Final score 121-120. As he said, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 42 points. The Unicorn and Kristaps Porzingis with 27 and 9. Bradley Beal back in his first game in a while. 25 points and 6 boards. On the other side, we're going to get you ready for the Miami Heat. Do not move. Wizards post-game live. Back in a second.
BC Sports Washington. Your home of the Capitals.
Welcome back to Wizards Post Game Live. Remember, Wizards fans, the day after the Wizards score 115 or more points, you can get 50% off regular menu price pizzas at papajohns.com using the code WIZ50. Now, another thing we got to remind ourselves of. Film room. Glenn Consor, take it away, sir.
Well, you know, it's funny. When the Wizards won 4 straight, everybody's saying, well, they won without Brad. Let me tell you something. This team can't play without Brad, okay? At the end of the day, because he's so dangerous on offense. Being away as long as he was, you know, being sick as he was, to come back the way he did, I thought was very special. He could beat you in so many different ways. You know, he distributes the basketball. I love the fact that he draws all that attention. And he's a second effort player. Watch how he tips that ball. That's after a great pass and penetrating in. The other thing he can do is he uses the pick and roll so well. Watch him come off this screen and straight line it right to the basket and goes up. Now look at Mascala there. I'm not sure if he was trying to block his shot with his foot, Wes Hall.
I thought he was Pele.
But I don't know what he was trying to do there. But Brad, once again, does a great job of cutting without the ball, on dribble handoffs. Watch what he does. Doesn't stop moving, and then he straight lines it. He sees the gap, attacks, uses his body, and gets fouled. You know, Brad is such a weapon offensively. He doesn't force shots. I thought his step-back game was beautiful tonight. I liked his rhythm tonight as well. You know, Brad's defense, I thought also was very good tonight. But the bottom line is, you know, you need to win a game like this, like Kuz said, mental mistakes down the stretch, making adjustments. And you know what? You're going to have, Mama said, you're going to have games like this,
days
right?
like this. Mama said, Mama said, Mama. See, now you got the song stuck in my head, Glenn. I'm not supposed to be singing
Who wrote that
songs right
song?
now. I forgot, because I'm thinking about FanDuel right now, Glenn. I'm thinking about FanDuel, where you make every moment more as we take a look back at some pregame wagers, making sure that if you would have gone with this road, Bradley Beal making the first basket would have been plus 400. That $10 bet would have won you $40. Kristaps Porzingis plus 25 scoring, plus 210. A $10 bet would have won you $21.10. Remember, these odds are subject to change. Must be 21 or over to play in Virginia. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So, you're talking about Bradley Beal, because, of course, him scoring the first basket tonight was what we were all like, yes, he's back in his rhythm. Megan, that's impressive. I also found the 6 assists that Bradley Beal had, the 5 for 5 from the charity stripe, to also be impressive. But what say you?
Might as well add in the 6 rebounds to go right along with it. And he was also a plus 10, which is interesting when you think of the fact that they lose this game on the fingertips of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But I liked what we saw from Brad. He didn't come in and try to do, too much. He didn't come in and try to impose his scoring will. He came in and found himself a way to impact the game within the way that this team has been playing in the last few games. He put himself in positions where he could have an impact in different areas. He didn't just focus on the scoring. He tried to get into a mode where he was facilitating, getting guys open, knowing that guys are still in rhythm right now and have been in rhythm playing without him. And I like the fact that he was doing that. He wasn't just focusing on, let me go and get mine. He was focusing on, let me get my guys theirs. I know I can get mine at any moment. And he allowed the game to just flow to him. And that is typically what you don't necessarily see from a guy who's coming back, whether it's an injury or re-implementing themselves into the ballgame, especially when it is your franchise player. But I liked what we saw from Brad.
Glenn, the crazy part about it, too, you saw him get this party started himself, and then I enjoyed kind of seeing him let the game take its natural flow. But then when it came down to it, fourth quarter, he's like, I got this. That's what you want to see out of your franchise player, to Megan's point.
Yeah, I mean, it was Beal time. I mean, he knew it. That's what he does. He's a prolific scorer in this league. A guy that can get you 50 points. A guy that can get you 40. And that's what he does. And he's a specialist in that. Kind of like Shai, what Shai did and how the OKC Thunder used Shai down the stretch. I'm giving Brad a lot of credit because I don't think he gets enough credit in getting his teammates involved. In the beginning, look, it's still early in the season, folks. And I think Brad made a concentrated effort to get his teammates involved, to see what his teammates can do. And he also knows that he's the guy when needed. Yeah. So he's not afraid to pass the ball. He's not afraid to share the basketball. I love how he's playing. I told him this the other day. He gave me a little hug when I told him. But I really believe that he has done that. Yeah. It's not like he comes out gunning shots. And they don't run. You look at OKC with Shai. They run plays for him. Okay? Brad takes what the defense gives him. He's not afraid to divert.
No, indeed. Indeed, Glenn, I appreciate that. Right now, I want to remind people, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000, and all customers can get 3 months of NBA League Pass for free when they opt in and place a $5 bet. You can download the FanDuel app to start making every moment more. Odds subject to change. Must be 21 or over to play in Virginia. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Glenn Consor, you talked about Bradley Beal. He did his thing tonight, first night back in action in a while, and I'm impressed by it. We're going to hear from Brad on the other side, so Wizards fans don't move. PostGame Live back in a moment.
NBC Sports Washington, your home of the Wizards.
We've been doing it all year. It's not just us. I mean, he's been kicking everybody's ass. He's very crafty. He probably doesn't blow you away with his speed, but his change of pace, his ability to be able to cross over, his handles are tight. And ultimately, man, when you're confident in yourself and you're playing at that level, he don't think anybody can guard him, and he literally has that mindset and he attacks everybody. But we should start fouling his ass a little more, put him on the ground, and did something to alter him. But he got the best of us, man.
Brad Beal at the postgame podium, keeping it in the stack.
That's old school stuff.
I love it, man.
That's
Keeping
old
it
school.
real right there, baby. But check it out. On Friday, 6 o'clock, you need to be here on NBC Sports Washington for a very special edition of Wizards Pregame Live ahead of the Wizards matchup against the visiting Miami Heat. Big 3 reunion. We're going to be down at the stadium. A lot of good stuff. Glenn Consor, if you could, in one or the least amount of words, how does this team get a win? Real quick.
Well, continue to share the ball and defend. Create opportunities off your defense. Get some easy buckets off your defense.
That's what I'm talking about, Glenn Consor. On behalf of our great crew here at NBC Sports Washington, for Glenn Consor, I'm Wes Hall. We'll see you on Friday for the Big 3 reunion. Be well.